Huh. All right, guys, I'm sorry. It's 6:34. It's October 13th. I was just talking to myself. For some reason, we didn't go live, but it's fine. It's fine anyway. Hope everyone's feeling well. It's a new week. Here we are. My name is Scott Redler. I'm the Chief Strategic Officer of T3Live.com. Welcome to today's 6:30 Club. I'm also the founder of Red Dog Mindset. Feeling good. Just did a little ice barrel in the rain. That's always fun. And did my 20 to 5:20 where got to do a little workout, got a little sweat out, thought about what, levels of the day, thinking about the weekend and everything together. So this way, when things move fast, you can make the right decision at the right time. Yesterday or Friday, all of a sudden around 11 o'clock, there's a huge shakeup as far as the computers read something, and then you saw the Trump news. And I always say if you sell the 8-day or reduce it the 8 and 21 day, you could test the 50-day, you could test the 100-day, you could test the 200-day. But if you get out of the way, you never know exactly where the market's going to go. So if you trade actively for a living, like if you're looking to get a paycheck in October or November or for the fourth quarter, and you have to be right every day, every week, there are rules that you have to follow. So with that being said, you look here at the chart and you will see we broke 667 pretty fast. Some guys got out and got very short there. For me, I sold some premium. I did buy some puts, and I started reducing some things I wasn't sure I wanted to be in. And then we broke the 21-day. Didn't even hold that. I was like, wow. So anyway, at that point, I sold a little bit more stuff, reduced a little bit more, and then pretty much was out of the way during most of the day. Now, I will say, I didn't say I got a little lucky, but it is prep. Okay. In the last hour of the day, I put some bids in saying, hey, you know what? I'd buy the 50-day, right? When was the last time we were at the 50-day? We haven't been at the 50-day since this entire market rally. Like, this is when the rally really started in May. We've gone to the 21-day a few times. Okay. Went below it twice for a day, but we haven't gotten to the 50-day. So anyway, I had some bids in the SPYs at the 50-day, and then somebody called me from tech support, said, hey, you just bought the SPYs at 445. I'm like, I did? And they're like, yeah, Trump came out with something, blah, 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 blah. So I actually went back into the office. We were trading 548s, and I bought a little bit more. I'm like, you know what? I would have wanted to buy the 50-day on Monday, so I'm going to take it home. So P.S., my options will come in, so I come in today, with just the SPYs. But that's actively for a living. Listen, if you trade, a 401k, every month money goes in, 529 every month goes in, blood in the street still is in all cash, goes in a 5, 6, 7% all FIs. But trading is different. I do have options which will show up. It shows up when the slip drops at at 750. But all I have is the lonely SPY. So for me, you know what? I have a head start in the day. SPYs are up 9, which is nice. So that's helpful. So I've already trimmed a little bit because now you have to use your retracement rules. So we've done this so many times where you have that hard down day and everyone gets out of the way, and you have to because you never know what it's going to lead to. And then the next day we take back a third or half, and then and then we see how we rebuild. So right here at 662, we're almost already back to the 663 21-day. So that'll be about a 50% retracement. So we're already coming right back to here. So by the way, if you were short and you covered into the big down move and you bought into the close, hey, you adjusted a certain way. That's your style. The 663, 662 at first kiss is probably going to be hard to get through. So what I'm thinking about is what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to sell, but tomorrow, not today, but tomorrow, the 665 SPYs premium short. So that's a way to re-short or put sell some strength. And I'm not going to short the SPYs right away because it's kind of going to be crazy and take a lot of time. So for me, since I do have a bunch of options and some positions I added to, and I took off all my hedges, I'm going to sell the 665 SPYs probably for like $1.50 for tomorrow, which means I get paid on it and I start losing only above 660, 650, which would be a hell of a move. But anyway, so this would be a spot I would think that the SPYs want to pause, and we're pretty much already there. So I would take a breath. And I know a lot of traders are pissed off right now. I get it. You could be pissed off. Or you can take a deep breath and say, hey, I understand I reduced a lot of my positions on Friday, which was the right thing to do because we could have been down 100 handles. And then you could all of a sudden blown up your October or got put in the hole, or you're coming in today flat, or some people coming in very short. I have friends that are coming in that they were telling me that they shorted everything on the close. It's done. Palantir trades at 90 times revenues. We're shorting the hell out of that. We're shorting. I'm like, all right. I'm like, for me, I'm out of the way. I'm a little bit more flexible. I'm going to let the market prove that we can go down for more than a day because we haven't proved that yet. And I'm just going to play it by ear and now have a little bit low expectations. And then again, like I said, I did buy the SPYs at the 50-day after hours. So that's nice. So I'm getting some pressure off in the morning, and then I'm going to make my decisions the way I always make my decisions. So anyway, the Qs also, some of the guys from the Alpha team are also here. It was 5 o'clock. Like, oh my God, look how much lower we are. I'm like, you know what? We were going to buy the 50-day on Monday. If we were lower to buy in the hole for a trade, might as well buy it now. So, actually double dipped because we got paid because it was below the mark. But anyway, all right. So now for the Qs, similar thing. Everything is going to be kind of similar. Okay, here's your 21-day. This is what is this? This is 597.50. So this is 597-ish. Everything's an ish, right? And then the 8-day is kind of right here, which is which we had it going across, which is like 603-ish. So these are the levels to figure out. If you want to put the retracements in, a lot of you guys like to put the 0.38% retracement, the 0.50% retracement, the 0.62, and send it to me. I'll retweet it for you. I'm not doing that right now. So this didn't even get to, this was at the 50-day also, Friday night, not today. So, it's a little unfortunate they don't give you a chance to buy it today versus, to take it home over the weekend. But you know what? You can't pick and choose how the market's going to do what it's going to do. You just have to pick and choose how you're going to approach it and stay involved. So anyway, the Qs right now are, what are the Qs doing? The Qs are back at 600, up 11. So the Qs have already taken back half. So this low here is what? This is 601. So I would think just mapping things out. That's what Red Dog does. I map it out. So this way I can have multiple plans. I would think this 601 to 603 is probably a better if you bought the close to trim into. That's probably not the spot in the first hour to be buying, in my humble opinion. Doesn't mean you could blindly short there, but chances are I would think we pause right around here on the first kiss back up. I would think. What's up, channel guy? What's up? You just finished 2 miles on the treadmill while you watch the 25-20. That's cool. Good for you. Tim Haggerty, good morning. Good morning, Donald. Good morning, Richard. Good morning, Blair. Good morning, Johnny. See, a lot of guys getting up early, getting prepared, getting their mind right for the day so they can execute with confidence. I love it. So again, here, so this is 601 to 603. So if you trade the Qs more than the SPYs, that's kind of the area. I would think, again, you can't buy right there. I would either trim some things into that. Maybe you didn't get stopped out and you were jumping out of your skin this weekend. Maybe like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't use my stops on Friday. I lost so much money. What if we're down 100 handles? I'm going to blow up. Well, you're coming in today. We're up 90 handles. So use that as an opportunity to reduce some risk if you were jumping out of your skin this weekend. Anyway, so let's look at some names that'll be interesting. Nvidia. Okay, this is 191. That should probably be some resistance. See how much of today's big gap upholds. If you go to Nvidia right here, what's Nvidia doing? Nvidia is 189.40. So that would be right around 191. Again, into this spot, can't just buy it. If you held it overnight and you closed your eyes, which you shouldn't have done, reduce some here. If you're looking to fade, this is probably a spot. But, you could also watch it for some clues. Yeah, so we'll get to some of those. So that's Nvidia. CRWV, is also stronger. It's up 5. I did buy a little bit more options. This did give you a red dog reversal, but again, this was above the 8-day. So this is what you want to do when the market corrects like it's doing. The SPYs went to the 50-day. CRWV didn't even get to the 8-day. So what does that tell you? There's leadership there. There's relative strength there. So that's something you want to have on the top of your go-to list because it's stronger. Nvidia got to the 21-day, not through it. So right in your head, you just say, okay, if the market rebuilds here, Nvidia and CRWV are still leadership status. They are. In mega cap tech, there's not many leaders there. They're all kind of rebuilding and just little trades, and they're kind of a pain, right? Apple, got through the 20. Apple looks kind of like the market. So we'll see. Apple first broke 255, which was your signal on Thursday to get out. I got out of my shares on Thursday, and then I did, salvage some options, and I rolled them down to 252. So anyway, Apple this morning is what? Apple is up only 249. So I guess what's the this is the 21 day. This is 250. So we'll see what what reclaims some areas and what doesn't. So I would not be buying Apple on the open. I would be seeing, hey, is it a feeble bounce? Is it going to be a sell in the first half an hour, or is it going to stall in the first half hour and then push through later? Could happen that way too. So this is 250. So I would watch to see how this goes here. I would not be just buying it on the first kiss, but does it stop at 250 or does it get back up to 253-ish? But anyway, if you're still long it, trim some. If you're not, you're going to have to wait it out a little bit. Alan Gladstone says Ethereum and Bitcoin pulling back a little from their overnight highs. Will they stall today and continue higher? I don't know, to be honest. All I know is that, if you go to Bitcoin, IBIT, it broke the 8-day, broke the 21-day. It looks kind of like the SPYs. It was a lot of people talking about, like when I was here, when I bought the SPYs on Friday, they're like 5 o'clock. Everyone's like, Red Dog, did you see IBIT? Holy cow, it's down at 660, 661. I was like, wow. They're like, what are you going to do there? I'm like, I'm not going to do anything just because it could trade all weekend long. And I just, he's like, well, what about the Thanksgiving rally? I'm like, well, I have options on. They're lower. I'm going to lose some money there. I'm not in IBIT itself. If you're in Bitcoin and you buy Bitcoin every single month, it's going to be fine. You do it just like gold, and you do it for 10, 20 years. If you're leveraged out the yin yang like a jerk with 10 times leverage and you got stopped out because you were in Bitcoin futures, don't use leverage. I learned my lesson in 2000 not to use leverage anymore. And in 2007, 2008, if you get stopped out and they zero out your account, you're done, you're cooked. But anyway, so IBIT, this was where we were trading on Friday night. And now, people are like, why isn't Bitcoin, higher? It's just because this was after hours. So you had a whole weekend of trading. So anyway, 65.20 is not the biggest deal. It's still right here. Look where it is. Like someone's like, Bitcoin crashed. I'm like, Bitcoin crashing would have been like 80,000, 60,000. We were just here all summer. This isn't a Bitcoin crash. This is just, it was a little bit of a forced liquidation. So anyway, we'll see. Yep, Dash is pretty good. So everyone's saying, so listen, Dash, came in like everything else. It does come in, came to the 21 day. You had a new all-time high, so it showed leadership. A lot of people sold a little bit into that. I have some calls on for a month out, and you'll see what type of bounce we have today. So yes, Dash is showing a little relative strength. So this is when you're making your list of what's showing relative strength. Dash is doing that. Dash, I gave you guys Dash literally, at 144. I told you it was going to get back to at least 225, 250. And then here, I'm like, why would it stop there? Anyway, on the weekly, it gave you a little topping tail. But all in all, this is a leadership stock. And I would think, definitely still could be 300 by year end. But that's your weekly chart. But look at this beautiful cup and handle. Anyway, so moving along. It is Oracle. I think there's a lot of stuff going on in Oracle this week. They're having like one of their conferences. But this is tough, not much traction since the gap up. They kind of sold the gap up. There's been just little micro trades in here. But if you're in adverse to gap, you're still in it. So that's cool. Celsius, I'm not going to do. By the way, this BBAI, some people like Red Dog, this is showing leadership status. I'm like, it's a little name, but I hear you. This was looking like it was going to break out. It was the strongest name in the world on Friday. And then the market kind of just rolled over. And then as the market got weaker, people are like, why am I sitting in BBAI when, when Apple's down X amount, Oracle's down X amount, everything's getting beat up. So I actually have options on. I have the $8 and $9 options. I didn't take the stock. We'll see what kind of bounce happens here. BBAI, it's it's down $1. No, that's not BBAI. Here, it's up 60 cents. lot of these things, you gonna have to prove that they can actually hold, and you want to sit in them or not. Is Palantir a buy this morning? Probably not. Palantir broke this 177. I'm sure there's a lot of people that went out short this, so you're going to want to see, what kind of bounces it has. Can you add to a short in Palantir? Maybe. This is right here, 177-ish. So where's Palantir now? Palantir is probably up 5. Let's see. PLTR is up 420 and 179. So it's kind of the 8 days right here, 180. So yeah, again, so let me just give you the theme, okay? The theme, because you could apply it everywhere. The theme is, after these big down days, lately, instead of having follow through to the downside, they take back a third or half, and then things try and rebuild and show themselves whether they can continue or not. Like I said before, the SPYs had a really big move, biggest move in a while to the downside, and now they're up. So the question is, what could you do here? I personally think first kiss, okay, it's going to be a better sell. Like, I'm trimming the SPYs. I've already trimmed some. It's 6:50 in the morning. I'm like, I'm getting 662. I wasn't even supposed to be long this thing, and I got hit on the 50-day Friday. I'm trimming some. And then if we open here, I'm probably going to sell the 665 calls for tomorrow and take $1.50 in is my way to fade this. And if it pauses first and doesn't pull in much and everything's don't pull in, maybe it continues up to 667. It doesn't have to be today either. It could be this week, and then roll over from there. The Qs are the same thing. Qs are up 10, into this 601 to 603 area. It's probably a better short or fade than buy at the first kiss. I'm just saying it probably is. 601 to 603, that is probably a spot where if you went long on the closer, got long at the 50-day at 5 o'clock on Friday, you should be trimming into here. Some guys are going to short there. That's cool too. Then what you want to do is you want to watch the leaders and see if things go from green to red and all those kind of things, and where they stall and whatnot. So anyway, at 651, listen, cooler heads will prevail. Becoming flat's a position too. Cash is definitely a position. Becoming long, trim some. If you're coming short, figure out if you could add to it, and we'll see what type of action we have today. All in all, though, if you reduced risk on Friday, you did the right thing, especially if you actively trade for a living. If you add it to some calls because risk is premium paid, that's cool too. You have to figure out what's right for you, for your risk tolerance, for your process. And then if it's not always the right one, you have to adjust it and move your feet, keep moving your feet, and have multiple accounts. So this way, when, things correct, you might be buying things in your long-term account because you don't care if we go down for another month because it's your long-term account, doesn't matter. You're just buying every single month, getting great average cost so you can build wealth for when you're 59 or 69. If you trade for a living and it's October 13th, you better know how to be right more than you're wrong every day, every week, so you can get a paycheck, which is what my job is and what I'm trying to teach all you with all my different methodologies. A tier system, day count rules, moving averages, stops. All these things have to come effortlessly, and that's how you do it with your mind right. That's why we're up so early. I'm not up now doing my day. I'm up since 4:45, checking out what's going on everywhere, so I know what, if this happens, then that happens. If this, then that. If that, then this. That's the way you trade, not with crazy opinions. This has to happen. Nothing ever has to happen. Things happen, the way they with the way they do, and it's your job to act accordingly. Thoughts on AMD before I go? It's all right. It's holding this gap. It's definitely better. I have some love for AMD because I did buy the options here. I got a little lucky. It looked good. So I wasn't expecting that. It's as long as it's above 203. Some people have it for a swing. Same thing like everything else. Map out areas. I would probably think that, this, what's this low here? This low is 220. I would think 226 to 229 would be a spot that's going to be hard to get through if you could even get there. If you're still long some and you were worried this weekend, reduce some. This is definitely going to be a spot that you would think is some resistance, just like everything else. Same thing with Nvidia. 189, 190 is probably going to be resistance. Where's AMD trading right now? So AMD is up 8 at 223. So there's room. So that I always say, like on a day after a day, take notice. You map out where's the easy bounce, where if you're long, you could play it to. Where does it get harder, and where should there be like a friggin' rubber match where you want to maybe test the other direction? So right here on AMD, someone's like, I'm shorting AMD on the open. Okay, well, just know it could probably get to this area and still be a short, just so how there's room there. Same way with SPYs. You're going to short right here. Okay, well, it still could go to 663, 665. So if you short it early and you short too much, I'm just telling you, you just got to know that there's, a harder level, but it might not get there. So someone's like, well, Red Dog, I don't think it gets to 663. I'm shorting right here. I'm just not getting it. Okay, well, short small. And if it does get there, just know it can and give yourself some room. So that's why it's not all or none. This world is not all or none. It's all about, little things that add up to bigger things. And anyway, 6:54, I'm only supposed to do this for 20 minutes. I got to go do 40 charts for the Alpha team, 40 charts for Redler All Access, and get everything together so I can get on Siri XM radio at 9 o'clock and adjust. As of right now, all I'm doing is trimming a little SPYs. I'm a little ahead of the game. So again, I wouldn't say I got lucky, but I had those orders in and I forgot, and I got filled at the 50-day, and then I had to buy a little bit more. And now here we are in a spot where I'm trimming some, and those are the facts. Alpha team was there too. Some guys were doing the same thing, and I had to think about it this weekend, so that's why I'm getting paid for it. Anyway, same thing for Meta, same thing for Tesla. All these things broke lower, so you have to figure out where will there be resistance. Tesla will have resistance here at 424, probably. So if you're out short because it broke the 820 one day, well, maybe you could add a little bit into 242 if that's what you're actually not. Sorry, this is 425ish. So I don't know how I came up with that. My dyslexia. 422, 425. I would think will be resistance. So the question is, can any of these things take these levels back? We shall see. Where's Tesla right now? There's a SPYs up 8. Tesla is 424, up 11. So this is probably a spot. If you took it home, which took Cajones, you should be trimming into here. And if you think that it's going to be a fade, sometimes you're better off letting it put a 5, 15, 30-minute high and then see a divergence with the futures and then look to fade. All right, guys, I got to jump. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you. I will be looking to see what levels could reject price, maybe putting out some feelers to fade it, or just selling some SPYs, selling some options, and a little wait and see mode. As sometimes it's better just to see how today's candle develops versus if you can't handle the action of it, getting caught in the mix of it. Later, guys.